out there ready for tax
We're
collectors.
getting somewhere here.
It's really important to understand the interplay that goes on, because it starts with us. We bring the cause to our bishop. And then that cause begins to be investigated by the local bishop or the local ordinary. His job is to weed out the dog catchers and the politicians.
That shouldn't be hard.
That's easy.
And at that point, once he establishes a tremendous amount of information, because there is a tremendous amount, and that investigation is very, very detailed. They have to go through. Can you imagine the declaration of Thomas Aquinas as a saint? They would have had to go through word for word through the entire Summa Theologica, this stack, volumes and volumes of writing to be able to make that declaration. Even just to bring this cause to Rome, the local bishop would have had to have done all of that investigation and saying, I see no heresy here. And then to transfer all of that information to Rome, you know, they might have to take an oil tanker to get some of the stuff over there. And then Rome goes through it a second time before they issue this no obstacle, this nihil obstat. This cause can go forward. Guess what happens next? It comes back across the ocean or across Europe to the local diocese again, and they begin this second part. Do we exhume the body? What are the miracles? How do we bring this, how do we verify this miracle or this particular instance? Do we have any eyewitnesses that are still around for things like levitation, or is there a written record that proves this? Once they've decided to exhume the body, they have to get a court order, believe it or not, so it ties back into the secular world to be able to move that forward. And then at that time, the documentation, the immediate documentation of the condition of the body and any strange occurrences that might be going on around those times, because those particular things could count as this first miracle, right? Take the place immediately of that first miracle. And then the need for a second miracle. So then they have to be able to, the faithful usually put that cause forward by beginning at a local church within a diocese or whatever, this prayer of intercession for that saint to perform some type of a miracle that can be documented. And then at that point, once it is documented, then it goes back to Rome. And in each case, there's this declaration that goes along with it. Servant of God, the venerable, the blessed, and then finally sainthood declared in Rome. When did Juan Diego live? Anybody know?
1534, 33.
And when was he declared a saint?
Just recently.
Just recently. Yeah, it's not an easy process.
Well, talking about the process itself, because it will span years and years, and there's a lot of archiving, transfer of information. People who are investigating it die, so with the electronic revolution that we have, this digital archiving could probably decrease the amount of time that somebody could be declared a saint.
Mm-hmm. But they'll still be very careful.
Yes, well,
But
definitely.
it does decrease it. You don't have to go to the archives in Rome and begin to look at the layers and layers and layers of information, usually done in a different language that have to be translated, all of that kind of thing.
I'm a big fan of Mother Angelica on EWTN, and she always says, saints are not perfect, you know.
That's
and
right.
And so I was wondering, if we declare them saints, do they automatically go to heaven? Does the church feel like it reduces their time in purgatory, or?
Declaration of it, and again, that could be this whole idea of sometimes why some take so long. They may have spent a little bit more time in purgatory. But a declaration of sainthood says they are
In heaven.
in heaven, period.
But it's not the process that determines they go into heaven, that's up to God, period. We're just saying, we recognize the fact that that's surely what God's done.
That's why we have All Saints Day.
For all of those that we don't know about yet. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
So when he declares them saints, that means they're in heaven.
There you are in heaven.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of saints were just horrible people.
They were awful, yeah. You know, look at St. Augustine, you know, my hero.
Paul,
Prodigal son,
Francis of
never was one.
Assisi.
Being
I'm sorry?
there.
There's just a bunch.
Yeah, there is a whole bunch. But it doesn't mean that, a lot of this comes along with, when the cause for sainthood is taken up, it's usually that there's been a recognition of something very, very special about this person that begins to promote that cause. It isn't just like, well, I think I want to have my mother declared a saint. There has to be a basis to even bring it to the bishop to start with.
I could be remembering this incorrectly, but when the Pope recently visited, wasn't one of the masses he had a canonization mass? Or
The
was
canonization mass took place in Rome.
Okay.
The declaration took place here.
Okay.
There, he actually read the same proclamation that was done in Rome.
Oh,
Because that statement has to be done ex
okay, yeah,
cathedra.
because that confused me. Okay.
Yeah, but he made a declaration here,
Okay.
but it was a re-declaration, if you want
Okay.
to do it. He brought the papers with him.
Okay.
For all of those unknown souls, the common people that have spent their time in purgatory and now are in heaven, they're saints, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just,
The unknown,
yeah, it's
Everyday.
kind of like the tomb of the unknown soldier, right?
Well, it's like this too, I think, you know, this process is wonderful, but there's no real assurance that it captures everybody that should have been captured.
Oh, absolutely true.
Right.
Absolutely true, because, you know, all of the martyrs that died in the early Roman Empire, they were martyrs. How many of them refused to renounce their faith? How many of them just got caught up because they were on a list somewhere? So we don't know all of them that should be declared saints through martyrdom. There may be some martyrs that are out there that have never been declared saints,
Like those in the Middle East.
like those in the Middle East,
the
Now the-
Holocaust.
the Holocaust. There is, in the Eastern churches, like the Byzantine Church and those, their process for sainthood or declaration of sainthood is much shorter. They have a tendency to be more early church. And so they've already declared the men that were on it, the 20-some men that got beheaded on the beach as martyrs.
And the Byzantine or the Coptic church do that.
The Coptic Church, excuse me. But the
They were the
Byzantine will
Egyptians.
closely follow. The Byzantine Church will closely follow in the recognition of that. Thank you. Other questions? It's a different process to go through. Yeah, Dorothy?
This goes back quite a ways before I'm going back to John the Baptist, because I've had a problem with his being called a saint. There isn't that much known after when Jesus went to him to be baptized, because John was foretelling ahead of time that there was our Redeemer, our Savior, would make way, you know, he was pronouncing that there was someone coming ahead. Now, John was known to be a little cuckoo at this time, because
Well, he's a Baptist after all.
he wasn't cuckoo. But John, I wasn't gonna say that here.
It's okay, I used to be one after my senses.
Yeah, I know. But John was not martyred. John the Baptist was
How
not
do you know?
martyred. He lost his head because he passed on vicious, malicious gossip about Herodias.
It was true.
Yeah, we're not supposed to pass gossip on. Father Blanchard got me on that one in confession. No,
So now she comes to me.
yeah.
I serve her.
I forgive her.
Now, John the
Take it back
Baptist
to
was
the
not a
old days
martyr,
real
isn't
quick.
that correct, Tim?
No, he was not a martyr because he didn't declare his Christian faith or his faith in Christ.
Yeah, uh-huh.
But
I know he made these pronouncements about the coming of Jesus, because he didn't know who Jesus was at the
Well, he
time.
even made that pronouncement before he was born.
But he made, yeah, well, when he
Yeah.
raised up into his mother's and Elizabeth's womb. But,
so would you think
Wait.
that any Old Testament figure could not be a saint?
the reason for sainthood, to me, is a little dim and cloudy there. Because he didn't die a martyr, he didn't really, was he, there isn't anything known about, you haven't read any, at least I haven't read anything about John the Baptist after, John baptized Jesus. The Jordan River was at it.
He began to call the Jewish king to be accountable for his philandering,
Yeah, with
his
his brother's wife and.
possibly incest and all kinds of other things. He was really, what he was doing was he was testifying to a truth in Jewish law about Herodias.
Herodias, yeah.
However, it calls in the question, are there saints that we can declare that are Old Testament?
Absolutely.
And that's really the bigger question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, we can.
Well, how? Because to be a martyr, you have to die professing your faith.
But not
in
every
Christ.
saint
has
is
to
a
be a
martyr.
martyr to be a
You
saint.
don't
Yeah,
have to be a
okay.
martyr to be a
Yeah,
saint.
yeah, understood.
Just
But
so
you have to at least
fast
believe in
track.
Jesus.
No, you
Okay.
have to be in heaven.
Okay.
But there has to be a certainty.
Gandhi could be a saint.
Yeah, he could.
About the young girl who stood up for Christianity, was it in the Columbine?
Columbine, yeah, that she,
Wouldn't she be?
Yeah.
I mean, my
Why
God,
not?
she
She
was
was
a
a
martyr.
martyr.
She was a martyr.
She was a Christian, she wasn't Catholic.
No,
but
she
she
was
was
a
a
Christian.
Christian. Yeah,
You
she
don't have
was
to be
Christian.
Definition of a saint is someone who is in heaven. That has to be part of it. The church is declaring that they are definitely in heaven. Now, would they be, if they're not Christian, does that prohibit them from heaven?
No.
no.
No. If you read in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it'll tell you that flat out. They could be Jewish, the Holocaust victims. They could be any number of things. They still bear witness to the same God that we profess. Now, Gandhi might be a stretch, but he lived a very holy and beautiful life.
After a rather questionable start.
Well,
Not as bad as Augustine.
Well, he was a lawyer.
that's right. And South Africa.
And that's why he became a saint. Logic won out.
The point being is that absolutely, yes, Old Testament figures, Old Testament can be declared saints. Otherwise, when we have the transfiguration, which is attested to in 3 of the Gospels, right? And there's Jesus talking with who? Moses and Elijah. And where were they? In heaven, talking with Jesus in view of the apostles. They're both Old Testament figures, are they not?
I've always wondered, how did the apostles recognize Moses and Elijah? Did they have name tags? I mean, they've been dead for quite a while.
I don't know. But they did.
Did Jesus say, gentlemen, I'd like you to meet
I'd like you to meet
Moses?"
so-and-so, here's my friends.
They had a little tag that said, "Hello, my name is Moses."
These are the guys I hang out with.
No, I like the idea of coming with a name tag.
But really, what it comes down to is the other point, and I'm going to end it on this one. The other thing that you have to remember, and this is very, very important, is that the church maintains these records of saints, those that they know that are in heaven. But there is no 4-volume set of those that are in hell. Did you know that?
What would the anti-saints be? Anti-saints?
Anti-saint, I guess. So that in itself should tell you of this hope that the church has for a change of heart, mercy, reconciliation that happens when we talked about the last four things, the coming into death, this decision that's made in the moment of your death to not be this black hole where nothing can escape, but to embrace Christ and embrace his perfect glorified self. So when we look at that, sainthood in and of itself is an expression of hope for the church and also an expression of great mercy and forgiveness. Very much so. Any other questions before I call it? We're done.
Thank you.
Thank